What's up guys, my name is Evan Valdovinos and I create videos on graduate school life and advice. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. In today's video, I am going to read and analyze the statement of purpose that got me into the Harvard Graduate School of Education. The goal is to help you identify some elements that you can adopt to your statement of purpose that will help you get into your dream school. So stay tuned. I was accepted into the Master of Education in Education Policy and Management program, and before I read my statement of purpose, I want to provide you with some context. So here is my applicant profile. Alright guys, so let's begin the reading of my statement of purpose and my analysis / criticism. So how I'm going to structure this is I am first going to read certain parts of my statement of purpose, and then I'm going to give my commentary and tell you guys why I think I got in and what strategies I considered when I was editing and writing my piece. So let's begin. The Education Policy and Management Master's Program at Harvard University aligns with my commitment to address social justice issues. My goal is to become a transformative leader in research-driven education reform at the local level in order to improve the lives and shape the futures of marginalized students in small rural towns in the state of Washington and beyond. Specifically, my graduate goals are to develop policy that will improve the educational experiences of marginalized young people. The EPM program at Harvard University will best equip me with the theoretical knowledge and practical experience to become an agent of change, to improve the quality, coherence, applicability, and educational significance of intervention programs for the underserved. So in my introductory paragraph, you see that I set up the stage really well. What I do is I provide Harvard with my mission and my vision. What do I see myself doing once I graduate with a master's degree? So I'm very specific here. So I tell them that I want to work at the local level, meaning that I want to come back to my community in my small town and produce. Down here, if you look, I said I want to produce intervention programs for underserved students that are marginalized. So right off the bat, I'm telling them, here are my career goals, and here's what I want to do with the master's degree, and here's how I want to change people's lives. And if you read Harvard's website, their slogan is "Learn to change the world." And so I'm playing off of that in my introductory introductory paragraph. All right, let's move on. Growing up as a low-income Mexican male, I experienced firsthand the limitations that the American educational system presents to students like me. My parents immigrated to the United States from Michoacan, Mexico in the mid-1980s. Due to the language barrier, lack of education, and limited financial resources, their employment options were limited to strenuous agricultural work. Like me, many young Latinos in the state of Washington are often exposed to hard physical labor early on in childhood. The financial strain alone often places higher education beyond reach. It is not just a matter of prohibitively high tuition, but also the prospect of losing vital family income that keeps Latinos and their children tied to migratory farm labor. I want to use empirical research to design, evaluate, and implement culturally sensitive educational programs to help young Latinos and their families break out of this vicious cycle of poverty. Attending public schools in rural working class towns in the state of Washington presents many challenges. For instance, in 2010, there were only 39 students in my graduating class. I was one of two to matriculate to a four-year college. This is concerning because Salt Lake High School has trio programs such as Upward Bound and Abbott that specifically target and prepare students for higher education. The problem with such programs is that they do not provide students with the practical experience of applying to college. Witnessing my community struggle to attain higher education makes me passionate about work in the field of education. I know all too well the importance of addressing barriers that marginalized students face, and I understand the powerful role that policies can play in the realization of a student's academic potential. Alright, so in these next few paragraphs, my goal is to provide the readers with my background, my context. Where do I come from? What's my cultural background? And so I start off by talking about my heritage. So I talk about my Mexican background and a little bit about my family's work and what they do. And that really ties in well with my goal of creating culturally sensitive educational programs. So I speak a lot about agricultural work that my parents did and that I was exposed to early on in my life, and actually currently still. And then I go into speaking about my experience in public education in Washington State. And so all these paragraphs here are just telling the reader a little bit more about myself and what disparities I have experienced in my education and how I hope to solve some of those disparities with this master's program. So let's move on. My interest in education reform matured when I attended a competitive summer research program at the University of Arizona in the summer of 2014. The experience opened my eyes to the research section of education policy. Under the guidance of Dr. Nolan L. Cabrera of the Department of Educational Policy Studies and Practices in Higher Education, my work focused on the educational obstacles and coping strategies of Latino males. My mentor and I used research to dissect the possible issues that play a role in the vanishing Latino male in higher education. Given President Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative, this research speaks to an underexplored area in higher education scholarship. Our findings suggest a need for intervention and implementation programs directly targeted to Latino males. For example, I learned that Latino males are unlikely to seek academic help and support due to the stories of patriarchy, which are told, retold, and reinforced in Latino male culture. The lack of help-seeking behavior among Latino males and the dearth of efforts to address these and other issues combine to hinder Latino male academic achievement and retention. I am committed to becoming a skilled and informed researcher in this area with the goal of eradicating the current phenomenon of the vanishing Latino male in higher education. My actual experience as a participant in the College Assistance Migrant Program also stimulated my research and career interests. This TRIO program is designed to guide first-generation college students from seasonal migrant fieldworker backgrounds through their first year in college. After the first year, I noticed, however, that the majority of students in my cohort who had dropped out of college were Latino males. Bothered by this phenomenon, I sought to explore the reasons for this in my independent research project with the Ronald D. McNair Postbaccalaureate Achievement Program, a federally funded program designed to prepare students for doctoral programs through original research. The McNair Achievement Program at Washington State University emulates the rigor of graduate school and expects its students to produce high-quality research. Currently, I am conducting original research with Dr. Olusola Erisope of the Department of Educational Psychology at Washington State University. Our work analyzes the role Latino fathers play in their children's pursuit of college with the methodology of utilizing questionnaire data and analyzing its results through descriptive statistics. Through my own education, I noticed that very few Latino parents were involved in their children's education. The few that were involved were mothers. For example, my mother attended all of my parent-teacher conferences and saw to it that I completed my homework. My personal experiences, coupled with relevant literature, suggest that Latino fathers are less engaged in their children's education. This raises questions about cultural expectations and gender roles. The main focus of my research is to better understand why Latino fathers may be hesitant to be involved in their children's education. My research can lead to implementation of parental involvement programs tailored to the needs and expectations of Latino parents. So as you can see in the next few paragraphs, I specifically talk about research. And if you remember at the beginning of my statement of purpose, I put in there that one of my career goals was to become a transformative leader in research-driven education reform. So in these next few paragraphs, I discuss my research experience. So I talked about my research at the University of Arizona and my work on Latino males in higher education. And then I also talk about my work with the Ronald D. McNair Achievement Program at Washington State University, and my work with Latino parents and families. And so here my goal was to tell Harvard that I have the research skills and have adopted those skills and have learned from faculty members, and that I can apply that to real-world applications, such as for me to build intervention programs. And one of the things on the Harvard website is that they really stress theory to practice. And so I wanted to show that with my research experience. All right, let's move on. I want to continue my research interest at Harvard University by working as a research assistant with the Achievement Gap Initiative. Specifically, I want to contribute to the How I Was Parented project, which examines the parenting styles of students from a variety of backgrounds. This will allow me to learn more about the best and proven practices that can work in rural communities to better engage families in the education of their children. This I plan to incorporate in my own community. I have reflected a great deal about the obstacles that Latino students face as they try to navigate the American educational system. Before I try to do my part in reforming public education for marginalized students, I need to acquire deeper knowledge of educational policy and more expertise on how to bring about long-lasting institutional change. I want to do this at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I am particularly drawn to the Education Policy and Management Master's Program because of the opportunity to select courses that best match my interests, experience, and goals. Particularly, I am interested in taking Dr. Roberto Gonzalez's class on contemporary immigration policy and educational practice, and Dr. Karen Smapp's course on the elements of effective family-school partnerships. It is also attractive to have the opportunity to cross-register at the Kennedy School of Government and the Business School. This will allow me to view education reform from different perspectives. Additionally, the field internship program will enrich my graduate experience and give me the opportunity to put theory into practice. I am excited at the chance to work at an education reform nonprofit, such as the Center for Collaborative Education, where I can design and implement programs to bring about the kind of long-lasting intergenerational change that I envision. So in the next couple of paragraphs, I start getting into the why Harvard. Why do I want to attend Harvard, and how is that going to help me reach my goals? I talk about conducting research with the Achievement Gap Initiative to continue building my research skills. Then I also talk about specific courses I want to take, contemporary immigration policy, and then elements of family engagement, which tie into my career goals and my narrative that I have been sharing. I also talk about cross-registering with a couple other graduate schools at Harvard, as well as gaining some practical skills with the field internship program. And I'm really detailed in terms of what nonprofit I want to work with. So I actually Googled this and found that this was a nonprofit in the greater Boston area. And so I included that in my statement because I was actually really interested in working with them, although I didn't at the end. All right, let's finish up the statement of purpose. Upon completion of a master's degree in education policy, I plan to secure a fellowship with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute in their Graduate Fellows Program in higher education. This fellowship will grant me the opportunity to gain hands-on experience in a congressional office and develop and execute policy summits to promote public policy issues of importance to Latinos. My voice is shaped by my unique experiences, circumstances, and opportunities, and I want to express it in the education policy sector. I have many qualities that will facilitate my experience as a graduate student and my career as a researcher. With degrees in English secondary education and Spanish, my experiences as an education researcher, and having grown up in a small rural town, I will be an effective policymaker and institutional change agent on behalf of some of the neediest in American society. Thank you for considering my application. So to conclude my statement of purpose, I am telling Harvard what's my plan when I complete the degree. So I'm telling them I'm gonna apply to this Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Graduate Fellows Program in higher education, where I will be able to develop policy summits and work with public policy issues in DC and apply the skills that I gained in the program to a real life situation, a practical situation that affects Latinos, which is which ties in with my career goal. Then I also just end it with providing a last minute statement on my mission and vision, that I want to be an effective policymaker and institutional change agent for rural communities and communities that I grew up in that reflect how I grew up and the issues that I face in my public education. All right, so I hope that reading this personal statement gives you some insight on how to craft yours and how to craft a successful statement of purpose for a top graduate program. Like I mentioned before, if you have questions, please comment down below, subscribe to my channel. I plan to do a series of reading successful graduate statement of purposes. That way you're able to gain some insight and help you write a strong statement of purpose for your graduate programs. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to let me know what other videos you want me to produce and how I can help you draft a strong statement of purpose. I will see you in the next video.